Okay, hi guys. So now that you know how to do animations, we're gonna talk about when to use them. So basically, the whole point is that yes, it contributes to our code and our program, but we don't want to get carried away with it. So for example, we have this website here, PayPal. When you send a payment, you get a receipt. It's a really cool animation and it's very clever. However, it does take some time to complete. So for some users, this can be inconvenient because you have to wait a whole 3 seconds before you can move on. Whereas with this one, you just get a little sending code thing and then a sent animation. And so this one's very concise, very quick. The key difference is that it's not like an essential part of the website, so it doesn't diminish our functionality and it doesn't sort of take the spotlight away from what the user is trying to do here. So yeah, just the main point is that animations should not be the main attraction and they're best used for like loading screens, and you kind of want the content to speak for itself. So it can really add a lot to your program, but basically you don't want to get carried away and make it like the focal point. So one example of a good way to use animations is, so the transition between these two pages is pretty abrupt and it can be kind of jarring. So what we want to do is kind of make it a little bit more seamless, and we can do this using animations. So it would look something like this. It's a little bit easier on the eyes, simpler transition, and more just like aesthetically pleasing overall. So yeah, something that you guys can use to sort of play around with this is a program called InSpace. It's an InVision program. So when we post the slides, you'll be able to navigate to like the link here, and you can like sign up and just play around with it. Wait, David, how do I get back to the regular page? Gracias.
Just need to get back to the slides.
Yeah. Click the link.
Oh, happened.
I'm so sorry.
You're good. Where is everything?
Okay, while we get this back up, are there any questions so far about when to use animations, or I guess how to use animations? Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. There. Should be fixed.
Okay, and we're back. Sorry. Okay, so like I said, this is a great tool to play around with animations, and then we also have another one. It's Adobe After Effects, so you can sort of do the same thing. I think this one's a little bit more complicated to use, but it can help you make really beautiful animations if you get accustomed to it. I definitely recommend checking it out. Okay, we're good to move on. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about aesthetics. So first off, we'll go into a bit about branding. Can you guys tell me a little bit about what you know about branding already? I know it's like weird to speak out in this lecture hall, but if you could like raise your hand and maybe contribute something, that would be great. Does anyone want to say anything about branding? Okay, if not, that's fine. That's what the crash course is for. Okay, so first, these are like the main 4 things that we want to consider when we are sort of like creating a brand. So color scheme is really important. You want everything to be pretty consistent. Your color combinations kind of want to be cohesive. You want them to look nice together. And then typography is also really important because it can help things stand out. But at the same time, you also don't want to choose too many fonts. So a general rule of thumb is to sort of limit it to about 2 or 3 and sort of keep it at that so that things don't go overboard and get too hectic. Other than that, we have images and graphics to kind of contribute to the style and the character of your brand. And usually you want to use high quality images and you don't want to like overload your website with them. And then lastly, we have layout. So that's like the grid layout internally within your code. So you would handle that using like Flexbox, using CSS and HTML and those sort of things. But then in addition to that, we also have motion. So what we just talked about with the animations, it really adds an extra edge to it. So make sure to utilize that to sort of help everything come together. So now we're going to talk about brand personality theory. So the main definition is sort of just like a set of human characteristics that you would attribute to your brand. So basically, if like you see a particular brand and you think of professionalism or excitement or happiness, it's like a way a brand presents itself outwardly through its like marketing. So these are like examples of like a brand personality. So maybe sincerity or competence, sophistication, things like that. I'll give you guys like a second to sort of read over it. Maybe come up with some examples and write them down. Okay, I'm gonna move on. So now we're actually gonna walk through some examples ourselves. So this one has lots of subtle use of motion. It's not too intense. I would navigate to the actual site, but I'm scared that it's gonna like close the tab again. So we'll just look at the one on the slide for now. So yeah, we see use of font, use of color. It's not too jarring. There's consistent font usage throughout the whole thing. Yeah, does anyone want to add anything that they notice about this one that maybe contributes to brand personality? Okay, that's okay. All right, this next one, it's a little bit simpler. I think it's a little bit cleaner, in my opinion. I like how all the colors are very cohesive. It's all sort of like one thing all across the board. I think what I would gather from this is that it's more geared towards younger people. And since this is an image of it, you can't really see like the motion of it, but like, I'm not gonna navigate to the actual site again. And then for the Zoom website, we see it's a little bit more professional. I would say it's a little more sophisticated. Not so much use of color, but maybe use of images, spacing, display, things like that. And that gives it a more overall professional and sophisticated look. Something that maybe if you're coding for a client, you want to consider what it is they're looking for, what their brand personality is, and what kind of a vibe they're going for. Yeah, these are just some inspirations that you can pull from. And then, of course, we have Discord. Again, it's geared more towards younger people. We see lots of usage of like interesting images and icons, bright colors. The main thing is like centered right there in the middle, nice and big for us to see. Yeah, not much motion, but lots of eye-catching graphics. So yeah. And then there's things like Vogue, and similarly, this one, they're both more, I would say like clean looking, a little bit more blog styled. So yeah, those are all just examples of like ways that you can change the brand personality of your website and ways that you can utilize images, but also animations in your code. Okay, are there any questions? No? Okay, I'm gonna go back and try to open up the links so that we can sort of see these animations in action. I'll go to the Zoom one because I particularly like that one. Yay, it worked. Okay. Please. All right. So here we have the Zoom web page. There are some animations, but they're super clean, super simple. very minimal, and I would say it doesn't really take away from, like you said, the functionality of it. This nav bar here animates to move down as a sidebar, which I thought was interesting. And then you can navigate through to different parts. It's like a wheel type of thing. I really like this website as an example because there are just so many different elements and components to it. You can really like gather a lot from all the different sections. You probably noticed that they have like a consistent font across the whole thing, keeping it pretty simple. We have this type of like hover effect or shadow effect under the box to make it pop out a little bit more. So it's just simple things like that that can really elevate your code, that I encourage you to consider when you're maybe coding your midterm. I think things like that can really help it stand out. Where's my cursor? Okay, well, that's the gist of it. Is there any other websites that you guys wanted to look at on here before we move on? Or any last questions? Okay, cool. Well, on that note, that was it for, oh. Yep, that was it for the design portion, and we are done.